Good morning, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name is Jennifer. Thanks for joining. If you found your way here, I believe that Spirit has a message that they have been giving you that they want to confirm through this video, and just continue to allow us to work together to co-create love and light on this earth. I love this idea. Spirit has prompted me to share today about joy. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I just had some time of morning meditation, and that's what has been on my heart actually even since yesterday. So we'll see what words come through. I went to the Renaissance Festival yesterday and got myself a little lotus flower henna tattoo. Me and my granddaughter got tattoos together. She got a hummingbird, so it was very beautiful, very fun. I had a great time. So if you see that, that's what that is. Okay, let's just take a minute to draw our awareness to our collective connection so that spirit can just work most efficiently through us. So let's take a deep breath together to open up that connection as wide as we can. Visualizing our heart space as a flower opening, light pouring from within, as divine love, divine light, divine wisdom come from within us. We open our spiritual eyes and spiritual ears. We connect together in love, and we give thanks to Spirit for the message that we're about to receive. Thank you. Amen. Okay. All right, let's get started talking about joy. Listen, I talk a lot about it on here, and I feel like I just kind of dance around it as related to other topics, but I think that we need to have a conversation about the importance of joy. I know for me, as I think back on my journey um, through my Christian faith, joy was not front and center, even though it's in many scriptures. There's scriptures that talk about the fullness of joy is found in the Lord, right? It talks about at the right hand of the Lord um, are delights and pleasures, but yet there's a little bit of fear, I feel like, that's been instilled in us at taking pleasure in the things of this life, whether they're material things, for sure, there's a stigma around that. But even the spiritual things, like sometimes we get caught up in an understanding that we're supposed to be suffering in this life if we're truly following the path of Jesus. And that is not what Jesus came here to tell us. Will negative things happen to us in this life? Negative things that are consequences of negative energy? Yes. But we can still find joy in those moments, in those times, or at least find some neutrality so that we're not being heavily burdened and caught in a lower vibrational energy. And that's what Christ really came here. Jesus really came here to teach us how to live in a higher vibrational energy in what is known as Christ consciousness. And we had kind of lost our way a little bit, and Jesus came to kind of redirect us and bring us back to that. So, joy, abundant life is really at the center of what we are working towards in this earthly existence. And it can and should be found in our lifetime here on earth. It should not be something that is delayed to our death. A lot of times we think that we deny ourselves pleasure and joy here in this life, and that is a reward that we receive when we pass on from this life. That is not the case. And so that's what I really want to talk about. So I think back at my journey, and I remember I started going to church. I think I was around 18 and 19. And then kind of when I was about 20, I kind of fell away from it, met my husband at that time. We get together, I think maybe when I was 21, we start seeking a church again. We were both like, yeah, we need to know a little bit more about this God thing. We both had like a core belief, but we weren't really raised in a faith, a home that exercised faith as part of our daily um, life, but there were definitely some beliefs rooted for both of us in that. And so we were just seeking truth. And as we did, and we started to explore the Christian faith over the next couple of years, we really found some beautiful freedom in that, some truth, some light. It was wonderful, and it did bring more joy to our life, to our marriage, to our family, some, and like I said, some freedom. So it was really wonderful. Um, but joy really wasn't, again, was not a focus. I think everybody wants to enjoy life. I think in that sense, it's always some kind of a focus, but not usually without some kind of guilt or shame around it. Um, but what I believe is that as we're, you know, the closer we achieve, the closer we get to Christ consciousness level energy and frequency and vibration, the more joy we are experiencing. And so if you believe that idea, then we should be wanting to live in joy all the time. So in that sense, um, the way, so, the way that spirit speaks to us is through our emotions. Okay. So spirit's language is through joy and passion. That's how spirit guides us. So if you think, okay, which direction should I go? Follow your joy. Follow the joy. Okay. But not the joy here. Because sometimes when our mind tells us, or not the joy here exclusively, because our mind can be misguided, right? Our ego and our logic can take us sometimes in a different direction. For example, it might say, take this job because it'll give you more status and you'll make money faster and but maybe that job isn't what you really want to do. I was actually talking to an intern who set up some time to meet with me at my company. And at the end of our conversation, she's exploring different departments within the total marketing department. And at the end of the conversation, she said, do you have any other advice for me or anything I didn't ask that you think I should know? And I said, and she really is like an open, she's not feeling like guided towards one specific area. She doesn't really know what she wants to do. She's just out of college. And I said, follow your joy. That should be your number one indicator. Don't follow the career path that says that you say, oh, this one's going to have the most job opportunities, or this one's going to have the highest salary, the quickest, or whatever. I said, I didn't say don't follow those. What I said is you can follow those, and you may find success in some ways. And especially if there's deep rooted fear in you that I have I have to make enough money. I have to, do this to please my parents or whatever. Like if there's deep rooted fear, you might be more inclined to follow one of those paths. And there's nothing wrong with that. You will learn and you will grow. But if you follow your joy, the career opportunities will flow. The money will flow. All of that stuff will happen for you anyway, if you allow yourself to be led by joy. And so it's funny because as I grew in my faith journey, and then I actually started to become engage in ministry. I wasn't yet an ordained minister, but I was, leading small groups and doing different things, leading in ministry. I decided, oh, I know what it was. I was going through some ADHD testing. So my youngest son had been diagnosed with ADD. I was like, what? What is this? Because he wasn't like the hyperactive kid bouncing off the walls. And then I started to learn that it was something a little bit different than that. It was about not being able to focus and being kind of lost in your own mind. And now I have even more perspective about that. But this is what back then, right? This was 30 years ago or 25 years ago or whatever. And then I realized like, oh, I have this, I have this. So then I started going to a specialist, a center that focused exclusively on ADHD and did all the, we did all this testing and all these things. And then they have a support group where you learn all these coping mechanisms and yada, yada, yada. And so I have been going through all of that. And during that, I did this exercise because one of the challenges of somebody with ADD or ADHD is not having a good concept of time or really any concept of time. Again, I have different beliefs about that now than I did then, but this is again what I was believing then. Um, so I did this paper plate exercise. You take the paper plate, you divvy it up into, and then you allocate like how much time am I spending on personal care? Like showering and sleeping, whatever, sleeping and these things, and how much time am I spending on, um, you know, taking care of my family and household, like cooking or cleaning, those kinds of things. How much time do I spend working? How much time do I spend? And what I realized when I finished that was that this time that I had allocated for God was really just time I was spending doing things for the church. And I realized in that moment, I'm not a human being, I'm a human doing, which I had always been. I'd always busied myself, always busy, busy, busy. And I realized it in that moment that I really was doing myself a disservice by not trying harder to, or by, but maybe that is the right way to say it. I felt like I needed to be trying harder to connect with God and spending one-on-one time with God. And so that was the moment where I started creating less time doing and more time. And I was also a yes man, right? I said yes to everything. I had no discernment about what I should and shouldn't be doing. I was a people pleaser. If somebody asked me to do something, the answer was always yes. Plus, I was trying to fit in the things I wanted to do, right? But sometimes they took a back seat to service, being of service to other people and saying yes to their needs and wants. Um, and so, anyway, my plate, what I realized, first of all, is that however many hours are in a week, I was committing myself to far more hours than that because I had no concept of time. So, okay, start scaling back, start saying no to things, right? So, that was one big lesson, which brought relief and did increase my joy. Also, start doing less or focusing less on doing things for the church and increasing my time alone with God, which put me into more devotion time, more prayer time, more scripture reading time, all of that. I really struggled in that area. I did it, but it was very painful, in part because of this, what I'll call ADHD or ADD, right? I struggled to just sit and be quiet. What I've since learned now in this last year only, 20 years later, 25 years, whatever years later, but all of that was really just me not being able to quiet myself because I wasn't comfortable sitting in the silence with myself, because I wasn't comfortable about what feelings might arise, about what things I needed to deal with, um, about what energy in my body and emotions I needed to let go of and release. All these things I was afraid to deal with that honestly were not, ended up not being as hard to deal with as I thought they would be. And we continue to peel back the layers, right? But anyway, that's what that really ended up being. So I really struggled to connect with God. And I also really struggled to connect because I thought of God as being someone outside of me as opposed to something inside of me. And so, but the exercise itself of creating more time for just me and God did bring additional joy to my life. It did bring additional sense of peace, additional clarity, if you will, to helping me navigate life in a way that felt um, honoring to God. Okay. But still many gaps to where I believed God wanted me. Now, so this last year, I have come to understand the importance of following our joy and the importance of understanding that God is here because we are all created of God. So we cannot separate from God. We're literally an extension of God. We are a consciousness of God. We are I had a word and I lost the word. Anyway, when it comes to me, I'll share it. But we are an extension of God, if you will. I don't know if I already said that, but that word's popping in my mind now. We are an extension of God. We cannot disconnect. Okay. Again, we can, like the hose, we can cut off the flow, but God is never not with us. Never, 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 because God is here. So, but God speaks through energy, through emotions. Emotions is just energy and motion. That's how God speaks to us. That's how spirit speaks to us, through how we're feeling. All of our feelings. If we're feeling a physical pain, what is God is trying to tell us something, okay? If we're feeling an emotional pain or an emotional or joy or whatever, there are messages in all of those feelings. That's how spirit speaks to us. And in particular, spirit guides us through joy, through passion, that flame of passion. When you experience something that you're like, yes, I love everything about this. Sorry, I'm gonna silence my phone. It just made a noise. I love everything about this. That spirit said, yep, more of that, do more of that, do more of that. That's the way, that's the way, that's the way. But we've been taught to resist that. And I think we've been taught to resist that because a lot of times we see people just living and following what they want to do and da 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 da. And sometimes that feels chaotic and that makes people afraid. It feels irresponsible because it's like, you should be worrying about and thinking about how you're going to feed yourself. But this is what I would say. Spirit feeds the birds and they're just following their joy. They're just following their intuition. Like there's an intuition there that's connected to spirit that if you follow it, will provide. Okay. But also that sometimes because of we allow our ego to be in the driver's seat, sometimes what we think is joy and will bring us joy, but really isn't, is leading the way. And so then it feels wrong to follow our joy. It feels wrong. It feels like we're following the desires of our flesh, right? Um, so, but even the things that you would say are really um, spirit led. So let's take somebody of faith that would say, doing mission work. Certainly, certainly, anytime we're doing anything for the good of the collective, for the good of humanity, A, you will find joy in that. But that's just the way we're wired. It's the way we're designed. B, I mean, when you're doing something for the good of humanity, it's also for your good as well. But I will say this, we don't always do that with the purest of intentions. Intention is everything. So if you're doing mission work, even something as good as mission work, and you're doing it because of your love for humanity and for helping make this world a better place and bringing a little bit of heaven on earth, right? Um, you will find joy in that. You will find peace and comfort in that. If you are choosing to do mission work out of some obligation because you think it's what you're supposed to do, I'm not saying that spirit can't use that to help you grow and learn because God uses everything to help you grow and learn, right? But that intention is a lower vibrational intention, and it's not going to bring you the satisfaction and the joy that you think it's going to bring. In fact, it probably will still come with some guilt and some shame and some other negative emotions because that's the frequency that you're operating at. Okay. So it doesn't matter how good of a thing it is. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It's all about your intention about it. It's all about the frequency with which you come to it. So let's take someone, for example, who um, is going to find joy in going out tonight and getting plastered, drunk, and having fun with their friends. Is that inherently bad? Is that inherently good? That's where um, we have to take that internal look and start asking ourselves, well, why are we doing it? Why are we choosing it? What do we think we're going to get out of that? Okay. And so I do think that there is a time when going out and having some drinks with friends or whatever, even if you get drunk, I'm not going to judge it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Um, that it's just to let loose, have fun, enjoy, love time with your friends. Like, you know, is that inherently wrong? Again, not for me to judge. And I also don't think things are just right or wrong. Things are just experiences for us to learn. Okay. But then you would say, well, what if you're following your joy and your joy has you getting drunk every night? Okay. Again, come back to why? Why do you need to be drunk every night? You know what I'm saying? But it's not for us to judge. So if that's your journey and not mine, it's not for me to decide why you're going out and drinking every night. What will happen is, as long as you're finding joy in it and you feel free to follow your path of joy, eventually the pain of staying the same, the pain of staying in that experience will be greater than the joy of it. And that's when spirits help. That's when your vibration is raising. So again, the lower our vibration, the more we're cutting off the flow of spirit. The lower the vibration, the more we're just focused on this, right? And this says, I I want to get drunk tonight. I want to get drunk tonight because it's fun. But if you would open up the flow and listen to this, it's saying, and again, this isn't a judgment on getting drunk. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just using this as an example of somebody who maybe is getting drunk every night. Okay. Um, when you open up this flow, what you might find is um, there's something I need to quiet my thoughts because maybe you have some really negative limiting beliefs and thoughts and ideas that are scary or uncomfortable, and maybe you're just trying to drown them out, right? But what you don't realize is that once you open this, it helps you think differently and helps to rewire these beliefs and these ideas. So opening up to this means I don't have to get drunk anymore because I don't have to ignore this anymore because now this is more informed. This has better ideas and different perspective because it's being informed by this. Okay. Or maybe it's there's some trauma in my life that I'm afraid to, I don't like the feelings. When I open this up, some negative stuff comes out. I don't like that feeling and I'm trying to stuff that down or whatever it is. But it's through the connection of these two that we're really able to evaluate whether something really brings us joy or whether we're trying to mask something or ignore something or stuff something, whatever. Okay. And that also is where the beauty lies in temptation. Okay. So we're going to talk about temptation for a second. Here's the thought. So we have a tendency to think of temptation as a negative, but I'm going to challenge that thought and say temptation is grace. Temptation is Spirit's way of allowing us to internally wrestle with the outcome of a choice, right? Like, I want to go do this. I want to go do this, and let you wrestle with, like, is that good for you? Is that good for the collective? I mean, maybe you'll have fun doing it, but is it going to hurt someone else? Maybe, and it lets you wrestle with these ideas that you are considering without the karmic obligation that it creates. Once you go out and do it, once that energy is out there into the universe, it's going to come back to you in that energetic level. It's also going to affect other people. Okay. So now you've created a karmic cycle that has to be completed, right? But what we'll call the Luciferic theory. So Lucifer, even though the Christian faith would tell you is something bad, right? The angel that fell. Lucifer translates as the light bringer, the morning star, the light bringer. The light bringer, Lucifer, allows temptation, illuminates the impact of that temptation within you and allows you to examine it and understand the truth. Again, can't just be up here. You got to be open here, right? But that's the Luciferic theory. That's what Lucifer does. That's what the light bringer is, right? Like, open me up to this idea that I have, that I think I want to do, that's somehow disconnected, that's somehow cut off from the flow, but I'm going to open that flow and allow internally the Luciferic light, the light bringer. I'm going to allow the light bringer to shed some light on this idea and let me evaluate it and see more of the truth in it. Once you shine the light on it, the truth is shining on it, right? So if you go on and make that decision, you make that decision. It's a life experience. There will be consequences for those. There's consequences for every decision we make, no matter what energetic level it's on. But we're talking about these ideas that are kind of at a lower energetic level, right? And that will be the consequence. Whatever the consequence is what it is. As those consequences start to zap your joy, and if you have the freedom and the space to explore that, when we're constantly being judged, we don't feel like we have that freedom in that space. And that judgment is coming from within. We want to blame it on others, but when somebody else is judging you and you're allowing that judgment to form and shape your decisions, then you're giving up your power to them. That's a choice you're making. Okay. So you're allowing yourself to be judged and you're taking their judgment and you're applying it to your belief system. Okay. but you can free yourself from that. And that's the beauty of when we truly follow our joy, when we truly open our heart, connect with spirit, and decide to follow our joy. I'm going to grab a card here. That's where the freedom is. That's where the freedom is. So that freedom I found, we're all constantly going through these cycles of growth. So yeah, I found freedom when I first found my faith. And then I found more freedom and more joy when I started realizing I was a human doing and not a human being. And then it was another, 20 years or 15, whatever years of wrestling with that and trying to get better about being, and reduce the doing. And then this year, oh my gosh, I told you, transformation is my superpower. It 100% is. Um, and I say that, and I've been doing it for 25, 30, I'm gonna say 50 years. I'm 50 years old. I've been transforming for 50 years. I just didn't always know it. Okay. To do Spirit Animal Oracle for the win. Okay, so thank you. I hope you found benefit in this message. Also, this plant that I mentioned, I think in one video early on, is Lucy. Lucy is short for Lucifer. And I got Lucy right around the time when I discovered the truth about Luciferic theory, and the truth. And I say the truth. Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, 3 popped out. So, oh my gosh. I 3 popped out. And I'm not going to read all 3, but I just have to. So Canary Spirit is the very first one I saw. So that's the one I'll read. But let me just show you 2 others. Um, one is Hummingbird Spirit. And this one I think is so important because this is the tattoo my granddaughter got yesterday. And she was so into the hummingbirds. We went to a little glass blowing shop and she saw a hummingbird, and she just couldn't stop talking about the hummingbird. And oh my gosh, I, I don't think I have, I think my daughter-in-law took the picture, so I don't have the picture, but I want to say this. So she's got the henna tattoo, but they also put some glitter on it for her. And the 2 colors of glitter they used were red and teal. I mean, how amazing is that? And the message here is be here now. Boy, that's all about joy. Joy is being in the present. So we can allow ourselves to drown in the truth and the reality of our past. And we can get too caught up in our future and start striving and so focused on the future that we forget about the now. So be here now. That's where the joy is. The joy is in the now. Oh, I love that message. Okay. And the second one is Dear Spirit. And I love this one because if you've listened to any of my other videos, this morning actually, the abundance is crazy. This morning I went outside. I poured some water over the fence into the bowl I have over the fence in my neighbor's yard where the baby deer, who's now a teenage deer, is stuck still. Poured some water in the bowl so he had some water. That's Babe. And then I sat down in the yard and I was meditating and I did about a 30-minute meditation, and then I opened my eyes, and Babe's family was in the rear yard, not the yard next to me where Babe is, but was in the rear yard, all 4 of them lined up against the fence, just watching me meditate. They're right there at the fence, just watching me. I thought, how beautiful. So anyway, Dear Spirit, and I believe that was Spirit just bringing me an abundance of joy and beauty in nature, letting me know that my spirit family is with me, supporting me in this journey. Bring a gentle touch is the message, and do that for yourself. Bring a gentle touch for yourself. Have some grace for yourself as you're navigating kind of these new ideas around centering your life on the idea of joy. So while Spirit's language is passion and joy, our ears to hear that message is our heart space, right? And then our language back to Spirit is through action. Human language is through action. So what we do, not what we say, what we do um, is really demonstrating what we believe. Okay, it's demonstrating our faith and our belief system. Okay, so if you really believe that joy is is the message of God, is the lighted path of God. I'll say it that way. If joy is the path and you believe that, then start taking more steps towards that. And I'm not saying be reckless and abandon your responsibilities in life. Like that will bring pain that probably won't feel like joy, right? But just take the first step. Take the first step. Make one choice today for you. One choice that brings you joy. It doesn't have to be some big grand thing like a major career change. It could be like, no, I'm choosing that for dinner because that's what I want, instead of always asking everybody else what they want. You could say, I really want this today. Anybody have any objections? I'm happy to go get you something else if you want to do it that way, right? But I'm having this. Or maybe it's like, I have been dying to see this movie. Go see the freaking movie. If you have to go out at the theater or pay for $3.99 on your cable, whatever, go do it. Just make that small choice. And when you're done, thank yourself, because that time of joy raised your energetic vibration. And you manifested things in that time that you won't realize today, that you will, because of those manifestations. There's a time lag, right? So maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe the next day, you're going to experience some more joy because you allowed yourself to sit in that joy today. Do it every day, right? Create joy. We're all creators. Okay, last one. So let's just see. Hummingbird spirit, be here now, is a direct message from God because it's a 34, breaks down to 7. Dear spirit, bring a gentle touch is a 9. It's an 18, breaks down to a 9. So that, I mean, that's like, 9 is like, you're in it, you're realizing it. Okay. And then canary spirit, sing your own song. Look at the flute. How beautiful is this? It's a 3. So canary spirit is all about learning, or could be about teaching. For this message, I feel like it's about learning, but it's about those kind of life lessons. So we're all learning life lessons. Where's the book? Here it is. So number 12. Canary Spirit. Canary Spirit arrives to help you find your authentic voice and express what is in your heart. Free yourself to experience your inner light and let it shine, baby. As Canary Spirit sings to remind you of your inherent joy and to support you as you sing your own song. Thank you, Spirit. I literally have full body goosies right now because Spirit is like, yep, thank you for reading this card and not ignoring. Usually when I get 3 cards, I put them all back and say, nope, just 1 card. But now is the time to let the world know who you really are. Canary Spirit's message is that you are free to be yourself and express your most cherished desires, your most cherished desires. And don't judge them. Don't judge them harshly. Even if they are low vibrational, just allowing yourself to experience that joy, even if it's the joy of going out and getting drunk 10 nights in a row, feeling the freedom to do that will help you to grow and expand. And as you grow and expand, what brings you joy will change. That's when you have real transformation, as opposed to, I'm just sticking with this idea of like alcoholism, for example, since that seems to be the theme of this, all of my examples. Follow the joy when it doesn't bring you joy anymore. You say, okay, oh, this has been now bringing me joy. That's what's going to bring you out of that addiction, as opposed to trying to force yourself to stop doing something that you enjoy doing. Okay. Free yourself from the chains of permission. Give yourself permission to do what brings you joy, and that will be what will raise your vibration and bring you out of the unhealthy stuff. It will bring you out of the unhealthy stuff, okay? The world wants to hear your song. If your inquiry is about a relationship, you're being called to fully be yourself, for only then will you find harmony and joy. You can make music with others so beautifully when your note rings true. I love that. Okay, there you have it, folks. Love you. Peace out. Go create some joy today, my favorite creators.